Okay, so Darren and I walked into this cornfield and we were looking at all these stalks that are just fantastic. They're still, even a month or two after harvest here, they're nice and thick and they're solid. I mean, that was great during the season. Obviously, this could support a really big ear, no problem.
Well, the problem is, Brian, is all of our stalks aren't perfectly even. And when we talk about crop production, if you want to maximize your production on your farm, you've got to give every plant an equal opportunity to succeed. And when you have plants that pop up a couple of days later than the one next to them, all of a sudden there's a problem because the other plants are a little bigger and they can't catch as much sunlight. They can't draw in as much food because their root system isn't as big as their neighbor. And all of a sudden you've got a plant that maybe it'll produce a half ear, maybe it won't even produce an ear if it's a little bit smaller.
Okay, so basically we go along and we've got nice stalk, nice.
And even spacing.
Yep, and even spacing, a thin stalk, but even spacing. Then we're missing a plant, and I don't see that there was any plant here at all, so that's probably a seed that didn't germinate. And then we've got some more nice stalks as we go along. So is it a major problem out here? Probably not, but the point is, if we could have had this stalk thick, and if there would have been a nice thick stalk here as well, I'm sure we could have had 15, 20, maybe 30 bushels more yield.
Well, the question is, why did we have a skip? And then why did we have one that got planted too deep?
Okay,
and when you dig these plants up, this is the good thing with corn. You can dig up plants today on your farm and find out how your planting depth was back in April. You can find it right here. When you dig that root up, you can find right where the seed was and see for yourself. Did you have it at an even depth? Now, I'm going to guess, Brian, the plants, if we dug them all up right next to you there, they're going to be all nice and even. Oh, sure, break it off.
Yep.
Break it off.
Yeah, I just broke it off.
So there goes our prop. There goes our nice prop, Brian. But I would guess if you had all these ones where the stalk diameter is the same and the spacing is even, you're going to do great. You're going to say, wow, we were at 2 inches deep, 2 inches deep, 2 inches deep all the way along, and all of a sudden we're at 3 inches deep. And for whatever reason, maybe there was a stalk here laying across the road and we bounced up over it, and then all of a sudden we went deep when we got off that stalk. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but we had something happen here with our planter that screwed things up for us for the whole rest of the year.
And then when you ask about, well, why is there no plant right here? Let's keep in mind that with seed corn, the germination is usually 95%. So that means only 95 out of 100 plants are going to be living. So you're going to have 5 out of every 100. That actually is quite a few where they're just not going to be there. They're going to be missing.
Well, 95% sounds great on a term paper, but it doesn't really look that great in your field. And that's one of the challenges with our industry. You know, you look at insect control too. Let's just say that maybe it was a bug. Maybe there was a seed there, but we lost it to a seed corn maggot, or we lost it to a wireworm or something like that. And our insecticides and herbicides are not perfect out in the field. They're oftentimes 90 to 100% control, but not 100. 90 to 99, I should say, not 100.
So the reason why we're talking about this today is as we scout fields at this time of the year, obviously we can't figure out every reason as to why did we have this thin stalk here, why did we have the missing plant there. What we're trying to do is hopefully motivate you to scout your fields more often.
It was interesting. I was talking to Harold Reitz, who's retired now, but he used to do a little bit of work with Herman Warsaw way back in the 70s, early 80s.
Herman Warsaw was the first guy that ever raised 300 bushel corn in the United States.
Harold was saying the first time he went out to meet Herman, he went to his house and he met Herman's wife, and he said, well, where's Herman at? And she said, well, you're not going to find him here. He's always out in a cornfield somewhere trying to learn something that's going to make more yield. And that's sure enough where he was. He went out to one of the cornfields and there was Herman out walking around trying to figure out how he could improve things.
Yep, and the thing is, if we were out here scouting in this spot all through the season, we would know. We'd have the answer as to what happened here and why this stalk is thin. Maybe it came up a few days later. I can't tell you for sure right now. Why was this plant missing? Was it a bug? Was it just poor germination? Maybe it was a problem with our planter. We don't know for sure right now because a lot of the evidence is going to be missing today, whatever it's been, 7, 8 months after we planted the seed.
And when you talk about the scouting, Brian, it's not just today, it's all throughout the season, because let's take this field, for example. There are a couple things that I do know that happened here. One, we had some surface crusting. We had a real hard packing rain shortly after we planted, and we had some crusting issues out there. The other thing that came along with that rain, when we got on some hillsides, we had a little bit of washing, and where was that soil loosest? Well, right in that seed furrow, and we had some of our seed furrows wash out. That all impacted this year's crop.
Let's come back to that crusting, because I was out in this particular field scouting several times, and I knew it wasn't going to be perfect. But the point was, it was a month after planting, and there were still some seeds that were just emerging, and it was a question of, do we replant, or not. There were a lot of other farmers in our area that replanted, and I think we ended up making the right call. It was late enough, we decided, nope, we're gonna let it go. I think we've got at least an 85–90% stand, and it turned out actually pretty good for us. We had one of the best yields on our entire farm on this particular field. Could it have been better if we had had a better stand? Yes, but we did have that hard packing rain, and I don't think we would have had better yield by replanting.
Well, we certainly wouldn't have this year because we didn't get any more rain, so it would have been a disaster. So the important thing is just get out in your fields and look around. I know a lot of people say, well, I got so much going on, I don't have time to. Think about what jobs are going to pay you the most. And a job like this, finding out what a problem is, like let's say this small stalk issue, we figure out, hey, you know what, there's an issue with our planter. Well, guess what, if we don't figure that out, next year we're going to make that same mistake and the same mistake after that and the year after that and the year after that. And all of a sudden we're 10 years into this thing, we've made a mistake that cost us 20 bushels every year all the way through. Well, that's a whole crop over a 10-year time period. Well, what if you had one more whole crop with no expenses, just all income? I mean, it'd just make a world of difference on your farm.
Hey, one last thing I was going to mention, these nice thick stalks that we've got in here. We've had a major problem with lodging on our farm, and we've tried to go to higher populations in previous years, and so we've really tried to ramp up the amount of potassium we're using, and it's finally starting to show up in the stalks. The stalks were much better this year. I think we've really turned the corner, and we're now able to push to that next yield level, but we couldn't do that if we didn't have the support of our stalks.
But again, here's something where we made a change to the fertility program. If you don't scout your fields and pay attention to what's going on out there, I don't remember what last year's stalks look like now, and you say, well, are these better or worse than last year? Well, I don't know, they look pretty good. Well, you got to compare that. You compare it during the year, you compare it year on year and field to field to know if what you're doing is making a difference.
Well, another thing you need to make a difference with on your farm is our weed of the week. It's one of the worst ones in the country. Can you identify this week's weed?